I'm Sue Maslin. I'm a film producer. I work in feature films and documentary. My first credit was a film called Thanks Girls and Goodbye. Ironic, I think, because it was a film that was about female invisibility, in this case about women who worked on farms and in the Land Army during the Second World War. It was a missing gap in history at the time. It took me 5 years to make that film, but I learnt about writing, producing and directing, and I also learnt a lot about when women's stories go missing. That was the breakthrough opportunity for me, and it was one that I saw as my apprenticeship, and it was where I fell in love with the idea of producing. That is, to see an idea right from its inception through to the making of the film and then to the reaching the audience and the marketing and the distribution. So it was that journey of idea to audience that fascinated me then and still continues to enthrall me now. I'm a woman, and I like to see stories that show or reflect somehow on the kind of rich and diverse experience of what it means to be a woman, really. I love hearing those stories. I like seeing the different lens, I suppose, or the different gaze, the different way that women can tell stories. And I don't believe there's enough of them. So I've always tended to, in my feature film work with women directors, and I've always been interested in stories that revolve around women because I think they're funny, dramatic, emotional and largely untold. My vision for the future is a world where stories about women told by women are equally of interest to all audiences, men and women, and just as commercial as the films that we get dished up on our screens day in, day out now, which are largely stories about male protagonists and directed by men. I want to see a future where we see much more diversity and richness, and a world really that young women, but all women, can aspire to. We can see ourselves reflected back, our concerns, our dreams, our aspirations, our fears, up there on the screen equally as much as men's. I think we'll be able to achieve that if we can get to a point where not only are we developing great female talent in writing, producing, directing, editing, sound, composing, the creative self-expression, but it will get there if we can really help the market understand that more than 50% of the ticket buying audiences and more than 50% of those people watching on their screens, on their devices or at home are women. And that actually makes business sense to have those stories on our screens. So I think it comes from both ends, making sure there's enough women's stories and enough women developing the ideas, but equally that the demand is there and we get the broadcasters, the distributors and exhibitors on board, because it just makes good commercial sense.